Today's guest is Mick Hawkes, former SAS operator, a man that has lived in his shadows all his life. Mick has lived a life on secrecy, danger and sacrifice.
You would just pull your gun and you would shoot in the face the loudest individual when the back of the head comes off, because it makes a bit of a mess. People don't like mess. Would I like to go back into war with the same people? And the answer was, I actually thought SAS, Special Air Service, I thought that had something to do with the Postal Service. Hold on, who are these people? Yeah. Someone asked me the question, do you feel bad firing at people that were not a threat? We now know that if you get captured, this is what's going to happen. So top tip, don't get captured.
Okay guys, welcome to Beyond the Scope. I'm so happy to have a top bloke for my first guest, Mick Hawkes. His resume is too big it'd be an hour before I read it. He's done a lot, and we're going to sit down and have a little natter. I've written down here, Mick, that you attended 14 schools.
Yeah.
14 schools.
And that's the perks of your father being in the army.
Yeah, just getting moved and shipped around.
Absolutely, every 2 minutes. Yeah.
And you had a dream of being a professional football player.
If Lincoln City are watching this, that could have been for you. But it's bizarre because you get turned down by Lincoln City and your life sort of shatters. But, you know, I'd have been a bang average 4th Division player. So I joined the military and joined the Premier Division of the SAS. So sometimes things fail for a good reason.
I'm not a religious man, but I believe in fate. And on my trigger finger, I've got fate don't fail me now. And I used to rub it like that. And I just get behind the rifle, get behind the scope. I've rubbed it so much, it just says fail me now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big believer in fate, and your life is directed in a certain way. And we've got limited time on this world. And they say you make your destiny. You probably do, but I think some of it's planned out as well. Was the Paras like your plan B?
So my father was in the army, but he was Raw Signals with a BlackBerry, so crap out as they call them now. But I never knew that expression at the time. All the places we went to in Germany were hardcore drinking units, so units that had been out there for quite a few years. So all the military people that I physically saw didn't really inspire me. You know, they're quite rotund.
Yeah.
Alcoholically rotund, as we call it. So there was no inspiration at that time to join the military. And it was only when we came back to Lincolnshire, now I'm not going to become a footballer, what can I do? And in Lincolnshire at the time, you're either a farmer, a bricklayer, a mechanic, or you go to college. And I was doing none of that. So I just thought, I'll join the army. And I literally walked into a recruiting office in Grimsby, and there was a big burly paratrooper sat behind the desk, and behind him was a big picture, fantastic recruiting thing, of people jumping out of an aeroplane. And I just thought, you know, yeah, that's for me, purely because he looked the part. And it's true what they're saying, you know, if you look the part, it can inspire people. You know? And that was it. I signed on the dotted line at the age of 15 3/4. I was about £10 underneath the minimum weight to join the...
I never knew there was a weight limit.
Yeah.
Like, because I know lads now that goes, I want to join the military, but they turn me down because I'm so thin. I'm like, what?
So 1975, I was advised to drink Guinness every night, a pint of Guinness. Now, I'm a non-drinker. So trying to throw that stuff down your throat was quite painful, and I ended up. So when I went for the second weight thing, I was still about £1 under, but they saw through that and let me on the way. So off I went, 16 and a bit, down and joined the junior parachute regiment down in Aldershot. Ended up in their cross country team.
Really?
Yeah, because I found out I was a natural runner.
Yeah.
And I learnt something about the parachute regiment mentality. Is when you join a cross country team, you're in a league, a mini league, and it was all the army units in the south of England, all this sort of thing. And at the end of the season, we came second, which is no mean feat, I suppose, to the Army Catering Corps. and we were on the bus back to Browning Barracks, you know, pretty chuffed really. So we've got a little trophy. And we, as we pulled into Browning Barracks, the RSM got on the bus, and he had the, can you remember the old metal dustbins that get balled up by the prisoners?
Yep.
He came on with a shiny one and put it on there, and he just looked at us and went, if you think coming second to the Army Catering Corps is something to be proud of, you've got other every one of us had to throw our trophy in the bin.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you know, that was that parachute mentality. Week 15, we were due to go to Senior Wales, or Advanced Wales as they call it, to spend 3 weeks down in Brecon. I found P Company much harder than the commando course later on, and a lot of that is because your body changes as you get older. But just before we went for a little run, and it was a little run, a little 10-miler on Hankley Common. The training staff decided to have a bit of fun with us, and we were on a tank burn, and they wanted everybody to jump off. They showed us what a power roll was. Then, you know, we're not para trained at that stage. Showed us what a power roll was. We all jumped off, and unfortunately, when I jumped, I could hear the crack myself, and everyone else heard it, and snapped my ankle really badly. No medical facility, no ambulance.
Walk back to the vehicle.
Well, it was carried basically.
Yeah.
Carried. So it was about a 5-mile track back. So carried us back straight up to Cambridge Military, the hospital. Manipulated it into place. Obviously knocked out. And then 3 weeks later, they re-X-rayed it and said it hasn't knitted properly. So they then pinned it. Took about another year to get up to full fitness and everything else, and then just as you're about to go back into training again, and they were gonna start us off at week just after P Company, so week 13. I got dragged in the office by the training major and the chief medical officer, and sat us down and said, listen, unfortunately, you know, duty of care and all that sort of bollocks at the time, I thought, you can't parachute, so here's your options. And the options is to go and join a normal infantry unit, all green jackets, light infantry, something like that. But because you're indoctrinated, that power edge mentality, I made the mistake of leaving the army, and with the idea of joining the police force. Left for 3 months, realised that was a big mistake, went straight back to the same recruiting office. Parachute regiment guy had gone in there, and I was advised to try out for commando forces. And at the time, artillery and Royal Engineers had a commando unit, 5.9 and 2.9 commando. And because my father was attached to artillery units, I just thought, yeah, I'll join the artillery unit. So unfortunately, I had to go through normal training at the time it was Woolwich. I got best recruit, best shot, and best gym, which I wasn't happy with, purely because I had a bit of an advantage. But you know, they take it anyway. No one came down to see me anyway, so I had no family there to watch. So it was a bit of a waste of time, but you know, nice to get a bit of a stick and a little trophy. All this sort of thing.
That wasn't in the bin.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then went off and then ended up joining 2.9 Commando, which thoroughly enjoyed, to be honest.
You could do your jumps through the commando, can you?
Right. So what happened was, so on my medical docs there was a big red thing on there, you know, no parachuting. The unit were away. I was doing something. The unit were away, and we had a newish clerk had started with 2.9 up in, and we were based in Arbroath in Scotland, and there was a para course starting, and I rang them up and said, listen, we're on leave at the moment, but can you sign me up for the para course, like, you know? Anyway, yeah, no problem at all. Thankfully, never looked at the docs. So I got on there. First jump was a balloon jump. So as I was coming down, you know, in the back of your mind, wonder if this ankle's going to hold. Landed perfectly, nothing wrong with it at all. And actually, the ankle was quite strong. There's a lack of movement there, you know, lack of left and right sort of movement in the ankle, but it felt quite strong. Ended up doing, we did 9 jumps in the end, because we did an operational night jump at the end. Some people went sick and never did it, which I thought was a bit of a cop-out. Did 9 jumps, including the balloon, and took great pleasure going back to Arbroath and getting that taken off the medical.
Did you find your night jump? When I did my night jump, obviously due with kit, you pile out, you're going away, stay away, you let your kit go. Did you find, like, because the ambient light is just lights up everything, but when you go past a tree line, it's pitch black, and you're just grizzing it out. You pull your lever, you pull your strops down, you just got out ready to hit the fucking ground. Yeah, I always remember that.
I tend never to overthink things, so I tend to do it, and then you just take it as it comes.
Yeah.
And we always say you never land in military parachute. You never land. You arrive.
Where did the Falklands come into it?
So the Falklands then are 2 islands, east and west, which is fairly close to Argentina. It's been disputed for quite a few years, but became under British rule. So all the people that live on there treat themselves as British. They're more British than the British. So at the time, 1982, Argentina at the time were going through a bit of a turmoil, bankrupt and everything else. And Galtieri, the president at the time, ex-military, military junta, as they call it, decided to take away from internal struggles and invade the Falklands. It was initially started with people flying an Argentinian flag on one of the other smaller islands further south, and that was an indicator that they're getting a bit cheeky here. They actually shot up the Royal Marine Barracks because there was a small unit of Royal Marines on there. Thankfully the Royal Marines weren't in there, but that was their intent. Unfortunately the Marines were told to surrender because they were surrounded, and then that really kick-started Maggie Thatcher's determination to retake the Falklands. The Falklands kicked off and it was great because we were going to be going with the people that you go drinking with, because 7 Battery and 4-5 Commander were in the same camp in Arbroath, so it was the same, and it was great because you know everyone. So we were going to be embedded with Yankee Company, and we sailed south. Quite a difficult sail because we were on a flat bottom vessel, and when you hit the Bay of Biscay, everybody is sick as a, and you get into that ship's routine of showering. So 6 showers to 60 people, and it's just getting in that routine of walking, so all naked with your shampoo and your soap in your hand. You get yourself wet, you then get out, join the queue and lather yourself up, and then as you come round again you jump in, wash it all off and then go and get towed off. Ship's routine.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you just get on with it, like, you know. Met up with the Yankee Company that we were going to be doing the assault with. Got on the landing craft, ended up at the front of the landing craft, so the artillery guys, 4 of us, ended up right by the ramp. All the Marines behind sort of grinning, holding 2 mortar bombs, or 2 double mortar bombs in your hand, just to get the mortars on the, and it was just a quick way really of getting the mortars on there. If you'd have taken incoming, you'd have dropped the mortars and just gone for it. But it was just a quick way of really of getting ammunition onto the. It was an unopposed landing, bizarrely. So feet got wet, yeah, but you know, went ashore, no incoming, and then literally 2 minutes later, two Argentinian aircraft flew over the top, and you could literally see their faces, and they were as gobsmacked as we were. They were looking up like, you know. When it all clicked off, and then everyone started firing, and then that's when you realise that you're in a war, like, you know. Unfortunately with the Falklands, it's peat bog, the ground.
Yeah.
The pin in the ankle, so the year before I actually went down to Woolwich, the military hospital there, to get the pin taken out. They opened it up, couldn't get the pin out, so they just buried it. But the scarring hadn't really healed properly. And during the Falklands, everyone got issued these Gucci short-legged mountain boots to wear. I tried them on, it was rubbing the scar, so I ditched it and ended up wearing patrol boots from Northern Ireland, which are compressed cardboard, to be quite frank. The only bummer with that really is your feet get wet straight away, but they dry out really quick. And bizarrely, for the whole duration, my feet were perfect, because as long as you look after your feet, it's doable. Whereas a lot of the Marines were actually going down with trench foot, because their boots that they had, although it took ages before they let water in, once the water was in there, they stayed in, and they just couldn't get them dry. So when we were doing the attacks thereafter, and you're in a laying up position at the start line, and it's freezing, about minus 5, -6, snowing, and your feet are soaking wet, it's quite hard going, like, because you can't move, and you're getting mortared, and you still can't move. You just laid there, hoping for the best. So you know, in my eyes, it was just get your head down, like, you know. And
you talk about getting mortared. It's the worst feeling ever. I remember when we went over to Iraq, not obviously when you went over, but the second time we went in to get Saddam Hussein, we was in this bowl and we got artilleried in an artillery strike, and they were bracketing, so they didn't know where we were, but they thought if we just put enough down, one of them's going to hit that hole. It's the worst. Your heart's in your mouth. You're in your foxhole, you know, and you shell scrape, and you're just going, you're just waiting it for it to be over, you know.
I actually felt sorry for our Marines, because when we attacked Two Sisters, every mission that we fired was danger close, because it had to be. But we didn't do normal procedures for danger close. Danger close, in theory, is you fire your rounds quite a way out, and then you slowly bring it back. We didn't have time for that, and we certainly didn't have time we didn't have the ammunition to do that. So you would bring the rounds down, literally 50 metres in front of the Marines, and just quickly tell them, get your head down, because in 17 seconds, 6 rounds are now going to fall in front of you, like, you know. So just keep your head down, and it worked perfectly.
The Argentinians, some of them didn't have very good kits.
They didn't. You know, we had a bit of a moral dilemma with the Argies, actually, because once we took Two Sisters, we were getting artillery fired, but it was a bit random, and it was 155, so one gun firing a 155, and a 155 was quite a hefty round. So quite scary when it comes in, but you know, just got on with it, I suppose. But what happened was, because we had the 3 attacks went in at the same time, so you had Mount Longdon on our left, Mount Harriet to our right, Two Sisters right in the middle. So you had all these Argentinians streaming off the hills, and then sort of taking a right turn, and then heading back to Stanley. We had the perfect opportunity to chase them with artillery fire, and it was really bizarre. It was a bit like a turkey shoot, I suppose. And someone asked me the question about a year ago, do you feel bad about firing at people that were not a threat? The answer was no. And the reason being, they hadn't surrendered. And they could have been going back now, because our next objective was a place called Sapper Hill, and it's really open ground. And if they'd have gone back there, they'd have given us a torrid time. And it was weird, because you'd send the rounds in, and you know, you'd kill a few, but then the survivors would come out after a couple of minutes and have a look at the holes. So what do? You just send another 6 rounds straight on top of them, like, you know. And it literally was just chasing them all the way back to Stanley, or as far as the guns could fire.
I remember a story about the Falklands, because the Hereford guys, they were looking after the airfields, weren't they, and the planes and stuff like that. But they were stuck on this hill, and they couldn't get up this hill. Couldn't get up. Every time they got up, they got pushed down. The RGs were on top, giving suppressive fire down, you know. And obviously, as we know from the Romans and everything, you've got high ground, you're winning the battle, you know. And one day it went quiet, totally quiet. So the lads went up, found on top, all the RGs were dead, right? And there was some sort of structure on top of this hill, and there was an RG bayonet stuck in the door, note on it, compliments to 2-2. They had come up the side and took everyone out. I
think that was Mount Kent.
Was it?
Yeah, because what happened was 4-1 had a company, went on to Mount Kent. 2-2 were in a battle, and I think it was D Squadron were in a battle. But then they decided to fly in an artillery battery, which was our battery, battery. So our guns were actually in front of us. So we were back here, our guns were way in front of us, and there was an almighty battle going on as the lads were landing, and it was 2-2, sorting out the archers, like, you know, if that makes sense. And
any Hereford lads die in the Falklands? That's something you never hear of.
Yeah, quite a few,
Really?
because of a helicopter crash.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they.
Was that a Chinook or Sea King?
No, it was a Sea King, and unfortunately it was a bird strike, and it was a briefing. So it was majority of it was D squad lads, and what happened was, or G, I can't remember which one of the two, but it was the senior lads, you know, corporal sergeants that were going across to do a briefing, and they had all their kit with them. Quite heavy loads, and the helicopter went in. I think about 3 got out of about 23 or something, 24, and only 3 came out, like, you know. Not many came out, to be honest. There was one guy who came out who ended up as a DS on my selection, and he actually survived. But as, you know, typical regiment, you crack on with it and just get on with it.
Yeah.
They then had another crash, and the guy that survived that one was also in that one as well. So he was a DS in our selection, and when we were coming out of Brunei, the local military pilots had Huey helicopters, and I tell you what, it was hairy taking off with these pilots. Anyway, this DS guy come running across, and I can't say his name. He came across, jumped in the helicopter, and one of the other DS grabbed him and threw him out. And then the helicopter, and we couldn't figure out, well, that was a bit jack, you know, why didn't you let him in, like, you know? And it wasn't until we got back and we were having a few beers that he explained that,
He jinxed.
Yeah.
Jinxed. I don't want to get this helicopter in case the crash.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we got back and we found out, like, you know, but to survive 2 major crashes.
So you've come back from the Falklands. Where did your decision go, I want to go SF?
Straight after the Falklands.
Really?
And yeah, so the reason being is, and one of the guys is not going to like this, everybody joins the army in them days to get your bayonet out and stab people and kill them, because that's the mentality. Some of the Marines were actually ditching their ammunition because it was quite heavy, and we were coming across, you know, 250 rounds of bandoliers of 7.62, which I wasn't too impressed with. But one of our lads in a different four-man team had shin splints, or so he said, and went sick, and so came off, and so someone else had to take his place. So at the end of the Falklands, I just thought, would I like to go back into war with the same people? And the answer was no, to be honest. The little four-man team that I worked with, great lads, and unfortunately two are no longer with us, great. But as a general, no. And that was the start point, really, as to, you know, wanting to move away. But also, we went to Kenya doing a little summer trip. We were with the Queen Zone Highlanders, and there was 2 SAS guys doing the jungle training. And they were so chilled out, you know, long hair, beards, didn't like rank, wanted to be called by the first names, and they were just so professional, but really chilled out at the same time.
Adults.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just thought, hold on, what unit are you? Oh, right, SAS, okay. And that really sort of sowed the seed, really, to pushing on. Now, so once I'd made this decision that I was going to do selection, it was then a case of doing your homework. And what I mean by doing your homework for SAS selection is getting on them hills and up and down the Brecon Beacons, because that's your bread and butter of selection. Once you get on there and you're completely happy with all the routes, that's when you know you've given yourself a good chance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the point being is, when you get off a vehicle, no matter where it goes, that you've got a rough idea in your head that that's the direction. And bearing in mind that not everybody goes the same route when they come off, you know, for obvious reasons, everyone will follow each other. But as long as you've got a rough idea, then you know you've got a good chance. And I spent a year basically. And this is why I forever thankful really to 29 Commando, SEM battery in general, because they allowed myself and a couple of other people that went on selection the time to train. And not a lot of units do that.
They've got to now.
Yeah,
they've got to. If you
quite
want
right
to go
as
for
well,
selection,
yeah.
you need to.
I tell you what, we turned up on day one, and there was 2 Pathfinders and me, and a vet corps guy, and the vet corps lad, and I felt sorry for him. So the vet corps, so we turned up on the Saturday night, vet corps lad, and we said, oh, you know, bizarre, vet corps, you know, what you doing? He said, yeah, I was on guard last night. So he was on guard duty the night before. Didn't have a clue about the routes and the Brecon beacons. So me and the 2 Pathfinder lads sort of looked at, you know, thought, flipping hell, this will be. Anyway, so the next day you have to do, they call it a CFT in the old days.
Yeah, still. Yeah.
Just a little 7-mile run. And it was basically around a camp, Pontralis, and yeah, he blew out, came off like, you know. So on day one, as you do, you sort of lift his bed up and, you know, nick all his stuff that, you know, he's not going to need that. Yeah, we'll take all that. And bizarrely, the same 3 people all passed selection at the end of it, like, you know. But on day one, we lost our first person in our 4-man room.
Yeah. Before I go any further, yomping or tabbing? What tabbing better?
Yeah, tabbing.
Yeah, yomper a little bit slower.
Tabbing's a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yomping's a bit of a bimble.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna. I love tabbing. Yomping, I just want to go faster.
Yeah.
When I went to the briefing course, and on the Friday we went into the office. In fact, he said on the hills actually, because we're at the Black Mountains, and he said one thing you got to do: stop running uphill, because that's what I was doing. Because I felt like the wind, you know. And he says you're just going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Today you're going to feel great.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you probably feel great. The next day you won't.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to slow down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as long as you make the timings, you know, you do it.
There's no official time for it. Reason being, so nobody knows what the time is when you start it. So at the end of it, so everyone's finished now. The DS have got the big list in front of them, all the timings on there. They'll 6 of the DS will sit round a table and go, right, what do you reckon, time? Weather's quite good actually. A bit like a horse race. Yeah, ground pretty good. What do we reckon? Wow. So one of the DS will say, let's say 3:45. Another DS will go, Flip, no, much quicker than that. Okay, 3:30. Oh, a bit tight. Let's go in the middle. 3:35, 3:40, something like that. And that's it. And what they do is they'll stand up and the red pen, everyone below on that and below it, gone, finished. Off. And that's the good thing about the fan dance is you don't know, so you have to go balls out, absolute balls out.
I went balls out on the briefing course. I did it in 3.5 hours, and Josh is trying to do it. What did you do it the other day?
5 hours 55.
Yeah, you would have gone. You would have the red mark for your name, Josh.
In fact, you wouldn't have been on the bit of paper, mate. You'd have been right, all this lot, and some guy called Josh.
So, how many times did you do selection?
2. So the first one, bizarrely, was 86 when they had the worst weather on record, I would say, because it's the first time they'd actually cancelled or postponed test week because the snow was up to your crutch, and it wasn't getting any better. Yeah. So basically what they did was they brought forward. So once you finish test week, you then do a weapons week, and they just reversed it and said, right, we'll do that. Got to the end of that and no improvement. So it was just get on with it, like, you know. So the first one was up in the Black Mountains. Got through that, no issues with that. The second one was Elan Valley. Elan Valley is quite a boggy site, really.
Baby's heads
everywhere. Absolutely. Yeah. So unfortunately, I was first off the truck. So you know you're going to be trailblazing. So again, jumped off, still up to here, and but felt fine, if that makes sense. So got to third last checkpoint, still going strong, but the training major and the course sergeant major were there, drinking a cup of coffee at the checkpoint. And they said to me, Hawksy, pull off, take your Bergen off, go and have a cup of coffee and spend 10 minutes just chilling. I thought that was a test. I actually thought, no, I'm fine, yeah, I'm fine. So ignored that good advice. Cracked on and off I went. Got to not the final checkpoint, second last checkpoint, so which was on a high feature overlooking a dam. And then from there, it was all downhill, and you could actually see the finish point, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that, you know, the pleasure of getting up there. But all I can remember is getting to that checkpoint, and then next minute waking up in a helicopter, bizarrely. And what happened was the DS, I was in the sick bay at Hereford, in the hospital, in a bed, and the DS came in and explained what had happened, and he said, Mick, you came up, or Hawksy, you came up, took your Bergen off for some reason, I told you where to go on the map, I picked his Bergen up and ran in the completely opposite direction. Should have been going that way. So he rugby tackled me and said, yeah, and they brought the helicopter in, and I was being flown back.
Really?
Had no idea. Exhaustion, tiredness, everything just hit you all at once.
Does,
yeah, and it's really bizarre, I suppose. But I thought that was my gypsies warning, because you're allowed one gypsies on thing, and I thought, yeah, gypsies, no issues. Trainer major came in, X2 para guy, fantastic bloke. Said, unfortunately, Hawksy, the doctors advised you can't come on. So for you failed selection. And I tell you what,
Devastating.
it was worse than Lincoln City, telling you. Worse than being told you can't parachute. You know, it was just devastating.
I did endurance, right? Funny story, endurance. Did endurance, and in front of me was an RLC driver, okay? And we all thought, what was he doing? This is for PF, right? And PF got told off for mirror imaging how selection do there for Hereford. So they told to knuckle it down. But I think the endurance is roughly the same. Well, anyway, I did the endurance, turnaround point, got up, went up V Dove Valley, got to the top, went down into the woods, and from the wood you reached the road where you got the dam on your right, left, you got the car park, the last checkpoint, second from last checkpoint was on the right. And he was trailing me. I passed him, I could see him trailing me. And then I saw him in the woods like this. Yeah. I'm a kind man, right? Big no-no. Yeah. And I went up to him and goes, you all right? First thing he did is use his finger. And he goes, I said, do you know where you are? And he says, no, I don't. I said, right, stay there, all right? I'm just going to run down there. I think I know who I am. So I legged it down. Yep, checkpoint. Ran back. Literally could see him in the started letting his mini flares off. And I got to him and goes, what the f*** are you doing? And he goes, oh, I thought you'd left me. I don't know where the f*** I am. DS, like flies, like that. What the f*** is going on? He goes, where are you? And I went, well, I'm there. And he goes, right, pointed with a bit of grass. And he said to himself, like, goes, wait, you don't point me your finger. Got a bit of grass. He goes, I'm there. He goes, right, you're going first. Went off. Instead of going left, instead of going right, he went left. Right, DS had f***ed off. So I went, sake. So I ran after him. Land Rover behind me, jumping. I was like, for fuck's sake. So I did it again, and I did it in 18 hours, which is because we got, I think, and I was hoofing out. And do you know what helped me the most? My mate's brother had Crohn's disease, right? And he had these little shakes, and each shake contained 3,000 calories. And he got me 4 crates of it, and I just kept them under my bed. And I would take, because you have your water bottle pouch, don't you, and your ammo pouch. But then I suppose you'll have the old pattern webbing that used to shrink.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I filled my pouches up with random stuff to give me any short energy drinks. And I was just eating these Crohn's disease drinks, and that really helped me, you know.
To be honest, we didn't have to wear webbing, because all your weight was in your Bergen, and away you went. In the old days, it was bottles of Lucozade. So you would crack them open to get rid of all the fizz.
Flat.
because it was sugar, and that's what kept you going. And also the jelly that comes in the squares, and you just chop them all up, just so you can wang one of them, because then you get that hit of sugar, and away you go, like, whereas nowadays it's a bit more scientific. We used to have fish and chips in the evening, like, with a pint of beer, and that was your recovery, and off you went. But it's funny you should say that, because you just know, because on the second selection, everything just peaked at the right time.
Is it?
And you're just flying.
Because they always said never go there fit.
Yeah.
Never go there fit.
Yeah.
Go something in the something left in the tank still.
Yeah.
Because doing selection you'll get fitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. I always class myself as being quite humble about selection, purely because if you pass selection, there's a bit of luck there to get you through. And the reason being is I know hundreds of people that have failed selection for whatever reason, who would have made fantastic SAS soldiers, but their bodies just give up on them, or mentally they've just given up, but would have made cracking soldiers, who are probably much better soldiers than what I would have been, but for some reason, on the day, I was lucky enough to get through. Yeah, always stay humble. Although it's a big achievement, I suppose, getting through selection. Yeah, a lot of other people could have got through it, but unfortunately they just didn't, just didn't get through. Like, This question gets asked quite a lot. Mick, who do you think is the best? This is not being biased in any way, but the SAS, by far, the best Special Forces unit in the world. Now, I've worked with Delta Force. Delta Force, the Americans,
trained Delta Force. Delta Force came from us, didn't it?
Yeah. They originally came over. Their two officers came over. So all their selection process is based on SAS, more on flat ground, I suppose. And I've worked with Delta Force. SAS and Delta Force are very much aligned. The reason why the SAS are slightly above diversity of job. Some of the jobs that we do, you can get an SAS guy and throw him in any environment, get on with it, and they'll do it. Americans can't do that, and some of the jobs that the SAS do, Delta Force and SEAL teams, actually feel quite jealous, if that makes sense. So, but we class Delta Force as our brother in arms, and the reason being is SAS people are soldiers first and foremost, and that when you're in the it's normally your background that comes to the fore. So if you're an out-and-out soldier first and foremost, join the SAS, something happens, that background will get you out of trouble. SEAL Team 6, all that lot, they're matlows, they're sailors. They're not military people. They do sexy jobs, like getting out of armour. But if that had turned into a major drama, and the Pakistan and it had been a Green Army warfare, SEAL teams would have been wiped out, because they haven't got that background to get them out of trouble. And this is why we respect Delta over any of the SEAL teams. SEAL teams, because they're matlows, sailors down there. Delta Force are same as the paratroopers, Rangers, Greenberries, all that sort of thing. First and foremost, before they go and do all the sexy stuff.
They have a better logistics as well. So the Americans have their special forces, and behind them they'll have the Marines, and behind them a massive logistic force to follow it up, and their kit is their kit.
Yeah.
We get kit given to us which is totally shit, and we have to make it work.
Yeah.
Plus our training areas are fucking miserable, and we train real life scenarios, and that's what makes us, I believe, well, especially the Hereford lads.
It's slightly above. There's an organisation within the SAS that is quite secretive, so obviously we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, no, when you hit SBS, SAS, same, you've hit the pinnacle, and thankfully there's postings within the SAS that are better than other postings, and that's what you need to know about that.
So you're badged, you get called up, you passed. Did you go to, because obviously you got attached to B Squadron, is that the first squadron you went to?
Yeah, it was, so everybody gets to pick their own squadron and the troop that you want to go to. Generally, you will get the troop that you want to go to because that's an entry skill: boat troop, air troop, mobility, or mountain troop. So that's a bit of a fine sort of detail pick. Whereas your squadron is a bit hit and miss because if some of the squadrons really need a lot of people.
So each squadron has got
4 troops.
4 troops in there,
4 troops,
and it's got all them.
Yeah, so they're all mirrored, but at the time, B Squadron was renowned for being the more chilled out squadron out of all of them. D Squadron, I suppose, was full of power edge guys. B just had a bit of a family atmosphere to it, family feeling.
Is there a G Squadron? Is that guards?
D.
G.
G, yeah. So predominantly, if you was a guardsman, you ended up in G.
Yeah.
So you'd have ended up in G.
Yeah.
If that and A Squadron and so D were the predominantly parachute regiment, and A and B were a mishmash of commando forces, infantry, all sorts. And it's funny because I went to mountain troop and there was 4 Green Hatters, 1 Royal Marine, 3 5'9" guys, and then me as a 2'9", so that was the 5th commando. We had 2 from the RAF regiment. We had 1 parachute regiment guy, cracking lad. We had a tanky, and what was the other one? Probably a green jacket, something like that. So a mishmash really, which is great because you're getting different skills or whatever. And it wasn't until Billy Bingham and a guy called David Penman, both from 3 Para, joined us about 3 years later. They were our first parachute regiment guys, if that makes sense. But in theory, you should have 16 people per troop. We were never ever anywhere near that. Sometimes we went down to about 6.
Yeah.
Sometimes up to about 10. So having 10 in the troop was actually quite a big troop. But still way under strength.
Why was that? Just due to the selection process?
Yeah, people not passing. I never had an officer in the squadron, in mountain troop, for my first 5 years, because none passed. And then all of a sudden a Royal Marine officer passed and came to us, and he was our first officer to actually pass, So unfortunately, there's more people leave the regiment than actually get in. And that has a massive knock-on effect.
It's a high turnaround, is it?
Yeah, it is.
What, through injury or just people it's not for them? Or?
Yeah, it's because it's very diverse. The regiment's very diverse with its operations. You can join a squadron with a person that you were on selection with, and after about a 12-year period, you've probably worked with each other for about 2 years because they're just off in all different. And I went. They call it A stream. A-stream guys are people that stay in the squadron for quite a long time and go up in the rank and all that lot. Or you can go B-stream, and B-stream is where you volunteer to do undercover stuff and all the Gucci work, all the sexy stuff, if that makes sense. So I volunteered to do that because I enjoyed my first trip to Northern Ireland with 2-9 Commando. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I then volunteered to do the undercover stuff, and they call it, I think it's SRR now. At the time it was called the DET, the 14 in. And basically the regiment put 4 people on every course. And the reason being, it's a really good course, believe it or not. It's a good course and good skill to have. Unfortunately, the 14 in people at the time thought they were a bit special, which they weren't, because they tended to forget that it used to be called special duties. Not special forces, as we kept reminding them. And it was a good skill, but I had quite a few issues with jet people because everything is done in Hereford. They get that Hereford mentality, and we just used to look at them and say, listen, if you want to be on par with the regiment, go and do selection.
So your first stint away, because you went to Bosnia as well, didn't you? So your first stint away would be Northern Ireland or Bosnia?
No, first stint away was the first Gulf War.
First Gulf War?
Yeah, but unfortunately, and this is my only downer with 2-2 SAS really, it's the only period that I actually completely disagreed with. What happened was, B Squadron, we were on the anti-terrorist team for 6 months, just before the Gulf War started, first Gulf War started. G Squadron were in the desert doing desert warfare for 6 months, so completely up to speed. D and A Squadron were the 2 squadrons that were nominated to be in the battle, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So in the December, what should have happened is B Squadron should have extended on the anti-terrorist team.
Makes sense.
And which is a bit of a bummer,
Yeah.
because 6 months on the anti-terrorist team is about your limit, because otherwise it's boring. If it sounds Gucci, but it can be quite boring. And what they should have done was G Squadron should have gone straight up, because they were fully kitted out, but they didn't. They came back, they took over the anti-terrorist team. We then didn't really have a job, to be quite frank. So 8 of us got sent up to the UAE on a training task, with the proviso in the UAE, that if there was going to be a lot of casualties from the squadrons, we would then move up and be casualty replacements. That was the theory. Day before the air war started, CO22 SAS came in, and we were staying in a camp in the UAE, and he sat down and said, listen guys, you're going to be here for the duration. One, because it's a bit of a thank you to the UAE government for the military using all their bases and stuff like that. Bit of a sucker punch to be told that, you know, knowing that you're going to be watching the Gulf War on CNN in an officer's quarters that we were using at the time. But then you had the Bravo 20, Bravo 30, Bravo 10 escapades, which again was a bit folly as it transpired, really folly. Should never have taken place. So when I came back from that, I was feeling a bit deflated.
See, I don't mean to stop you there, mate, but you talking about that triggers in my head with Lone Survivor, because the Marcus Travell story doesn't add up
Yeah,
to what, and it shouldn't have happened.
yeah,
The Marines should have gone in,
Yeah.
not them. But
Yeah,
I just had to say that because it does happen, doesn't it? Where
Yeah, it
you
does,
think,
yeah.
you know, sorry, mate, go on.
bearing in mind that all of a sudden we're seeing people on CNN, you know, people that had survived, because we didn't have a clue where Bravo 20 lads were. You know, for all we knew, they could have all been killed or interrogated or whatever, like, you know. But one of the guys who survived it, who actually managed to walk out, he actually came through to us and to recover, basically. So we had him for about 3 weeks. Told us a story of, so we knew that some people had survived. And then when it had all finished and we were packing up, ready to come back, that's when someone said, "Flipping hell, I've just seen blah blah on CNN," and that's when we realised that they'd been taken prisoner, like, you know. And then the numbers came out of who's actually been killed, including Bob Consiglio, who got the military medal for his actions. Coming back was quite a deflated feeling, really. One, because you weren't really involved in it, but two, realising that, you know, people chasing jobs, putting lives at risk, really, for what, achieving nothing, like, you know.
Yeah.
So really, so when Bosnia came around, that was completely different, like, you know. So just before Bosnia, I wanted to do Northern Ireland, doing the undercover work. We had quite an interesting time over there because we were quite successful. I ended up getting a bit of a Queen's Award for doing dodgy stuff. We managed to stop two bombings of police stations, which is why we got the award. Hiding in sort of difficult locations to ping these people. But it was really interesting work, and I actually saw Northern Ireland in a different light. When I first went, the Catholics were the bad people, IRA, and the Protestant were the good people. When you go and see it for real, when you're doing the undercover stuff, you realise actually a lot of the Catholic people are really good people, and it's only that small percentage that ruin it for everyone. The British Army originally got asked to go in to protect the Catholic community in Belfast.
And they ended up hating us,
Yeah. And what it was the Protestants were burning out houses belonging to the Catholic community, and were forced. So it was all sort of started really by the Protestants. So the British Army went in there to protect the Catholic community, and initially, Catholic community welcomed it, coming out with cups of tea, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, when you outstay your welcome, as we did in Iraq and wherever, when you outstay your welcome, you then become an occupation. And that's exactly what happened in Northern Ireland. All of a sudden it changed, and the Catholic community then started to resent the British Army being there, and it changed in an instant, really. So from a small military establishment that went over there, it ended up as thousands and thousands of British troops. And the good thing, you know, again going back to my day, Northern Ireland was fantastic for the British Army because it was a great training ground, absolute spot on, because you came out of basic training, and where best to put that into practice, get sent over to Northern Ireland, you know, and that's why the British Army were the best of the best of the best when it comes to hearts and minds, operational tours. You know, they were way ahead of the Americans because they knew, you know, they've been doing it for years. It's a bit like the Israeli military at the moment. You know, they're way ahead of anyone else because they're operational all the time at the moment, and that was the same as the British Army. But unfortunately, because we then became an occupying force, we then got the full might of the IRA against the British Army, and it was quite a bloody campaign. But what people tend to forget is the IRA targeted innocent people, a lot of innocent people. So 90% of the deaths in the Troubles, as they call it, in Ulster, were attributed to terrorism. Majority Catholic, IRA, INLA, all the other different offshoots. Some of that to the Protestants. You know, some of the Protestants were bad people, you know, doing their thing. But the majority was Catholic, backed IRA, INLA, that type of thing. So 90%, quite a lot, quite a high percentage. 10% Crown Forces, so military, police, whatever. 90%, 10%. 1% of that 10%. Dodgy shootings, Bloody Sunday, for instance, 1%. What we're going through now, that 1% is being investigated. Hold on, up to the 90% of people that actually went out deliberately to murder men, women and children, totally ignored. All you're focusing on now is why a guy opened up on Bloody Sunday, having been shot at initially, been stoned, bottled. Unless you've been in a riot situation like that, you have no idea what's going through that guy's mind, if that makes sense. So try and apply the law as it is now to what happened on the streets that day is just farcical, if that makes sense. And that's why veterans feel a bit thrown under the bus. Because it can be any one of us now. Any one of us now could be dragged back over to Northern Ireland to be questioned about.
Why have they left it so long? Why now?
Sinn Féin and the Catholic community in general are trying to change the narrative. They're trying to change history. I suppose.
What's done's done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. But people they forget really quickly. You know, you've got hardcore IRA terrorist bad people owning flower shops in Belfast and walking around doing that. You know, nothing's going to happen to me because people like Blair and the Labour Party at the time decided to appease the IRA to get the ceasefire. You know, bear in mind that the IRA were a defeated organisation. You know, they never won. You know, they lost, and they would have been hammered had it not been for the government issuing, you know, letters that, you know, yes, we know you murdered a few people, but here's a letter to say, you know, the guy, classic one was the guy who blew up the horses in London.
In my regiment,
Yeah, blew them up. That went to court. They finally got the bloke. Went to court at the Old Bailey. All started off. He walked up, handed over his letter from Tony Blair, and the judge read it. Yeah, finished. Away you go. Not guilty.
There's a shrine there now.
quite right.
And we always salute it as we go past.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always draw. We always, you know.
Every dog killed on active service, every horse killed on active service is like losing one of your blokes, mate.
Oh, massively.
In the regiment, if you go in the interest rooms, they've got like a wall of honour, and these dogs are treated exactly the same as the blokes, like, you know.
Because they send the dogs in now, don't they?
Yeah.
They put a camera on them because the Iraqis and Muslims hate them, so they send the dogs in first. The dog's got this GoPro on it, and the lads are sat there watching live feeds, and they go through the rooms clearing it, and they know exactly, and then the dog appears and can go in.
Because they're Belgian Malinois and they're vicious animals, like, you know.
They showed one of a German Shepherd. They had all these chairs, about 50 chairs. This German Shepherd went like that and got to the target and attacked the guy. Manimal hoofed it, just pulled all these chairs apart and just went brilliant.
In our day, warfare was different, you know, to 20 years before that. So it progresses, and having three lads in the military, it's funny listening to their stories and the equipment they're using. Warfare always changes. You know, warfare now will be different to 20 years' time because more drones will be used and this, that and the other. And, you know, the British Army at the moment are going more the technical route, but ultimately you still need grunts on the ground to you know, bash the doors in and this, that and the other, like, you know. But yeah, warfare will change forever, but it's totally different now to what we did it. But it ultimately still needs that individual carrying a weapon on the ground to finish the job. You know, drones will do one thing, but you know, you need people in there to identify what you've hit and everything else, like, you know.
Were you there when now I thought at the time they were 14 Inc, but they weren't. They turned out to be SIG guys.
Yeah, no.
And they got and it was on camera, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They got dragged out on that funeral.
Yeah, well that changed our training completely.
Did it?
So that happened before I went across. So the training thereafter, if you ended up in the same situation, you would just pull your gun and you would shoot in the face the loudest individual. And the reason you shoot them in the face is because it makes a bit of a mess, and people don't like mess. If you used to shoot someone in the stomach, for instance, you know, no effect, you know, just falls on the floor. But when you blow someone's face off when the back of the head comes off, it has a bit of a shock effect, believe you me, and it means that people are going to move away. And although it sounds a bit callous, it has an effect, and it just gets you out of it.
I call it the chaos effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The problem is we now know that if you get captured, this is what's going to happen. So top tip, don't get captured.
Yeah.
You know, and that's your attitude when you go across. Same as when we do the training to go in there. You know, I ran the CQB cell, and it's quite vicious how you go through it. You know, we used to go through different scenarios, and people used to get a severe kicking off the civilian population because we used to use the lads from the camp to do it. And if you messed up, you're going to get a kicking, because it's better to have a bit of a kicking in training than go through that in reality.
So back then, when you would carry a pistol?
Yep. No, they're not. Yeah, SIG 22.
MP5.
MP5. Sometimes some people carried an MP5 with a vehicle. I had a car pistol,
okay,
with a 20-round mag on
right.
it. So that was my get out of jail card in the car.
Long,
I had a pistol, so 228 in the car, 226 down your pants. No, 226 down my pants, 228 in the on the back seat, G3, and a shotgun. Okay. If that makes sense. Shotgun to get you into wherever, and the G3 to stop stop either the vehicle or people, because it's 7.62. And that was it. So your cars were pretty much, bearing in mind you're on your own, 2 up in a car is suspicious. It's a lot to take on board, because you've got to do your map reading, communications, driving, and everything else like that, and third-party awareness, which people tend to forget, because if you're doing surveillance in somewhere like the Ardoyne, if you're doing surveillance in London, you do something funny, you can get away with that. You do that in a hard estate, Ballymurphy, Anderson Town, the Ardoyne, people are going to notice, and people will be on the phone saying, listen, there's a bit of a strange, because you're on your own, but because you've got your big boy down your trousers, your pistol, and you've got confidence, you get to know, and it's all about having a reason for being there. So you can go into these harder states, and as long as you've got a reason for being there, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But it's having the confidence to do that, and a lot of people don't have that, and they stand out.
Do you think those SIG guys got whacked because they were two in the car and they were acting suspicious?
No, it was their reaction. One, they shouldn't have been there in the first
Yeah.
place. Make no bones. And this is not a slant on what happened there, but they should never have been in that position, because when the helicopter went up, they radioed all the debts, the regiment. Is this your people? No, nothing to do with us, because it's out of bounds. You know, when you have a funeral, you just don't go in there, like, you know, because of the emotions and everything else. So it's completely out of bounds. So everyone actually assumed that it was another Protestant type attack, because the day before, this funeral was one of the guys that Michael Stone had killed when he attacked the funeral of the 3 Gibraltar guys.
Yes.
So they just assumed it was that, like, you know. The helicopter videoed the whole shebang.
I'm not sure if they got shot by their own gun.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, their own weapons. They got dragged up, horrendous. So to watch the full thing is quite horrendous. And we make people watch it in the depth to say, listen, this is what's going to happen if you ever get caught, so don't get caught. And it focuses the mind, if that makes sense. So to get yourself out of that, so if you can imagine, if that was 2 SAS guys, it would have been a bit of a bloodbath. The SAS guys probably would have been overrun at the end, but there'd been a hell of a lot of casualties, if that makes sense, because you're just in a position there, really, where you shouldn't be in it, like, you know, and you just got to fight your way out of it.
But I think showing them videos is a good thing, because it's your shock tactics, and you become more aware. I remember seeing a video, they were talking to some US Marines, and they got caught, and it was 4 guys and 1 woman, and they raped one of the guys, and because they raped him, he got a hard-on, and because of the prostate and stuff, and he actually ejaculated, and the other guys ostracized him because they thought he enjoyed it, you know, and that video was hard hitting to fucking watch, you know, and it made me more aware not to get caught. You know, it made me more professional not to get caught.
When we used to run the CQB cell, we used to video, because all the stuff we do is not like normal army stuff. We don't have safety, because you can't afford to. So it's really, and you train as if it's for real.
Is that in the killing house that you?
The killing house, and also on the ranges as well.
Okay.
There was a drill where 2 people are on the same side of the street fighting their way back, so having to fire over the top of each other. And it was a female and an ex-parachute regiment guy, 3-para. And they were firing down, and the 3-para lad was at the front, and the girl was stood behind, shooting over the top. And you video everything, if that makes sense. And what should have happened was the parachute regiment guy should have looked behind him, nodded. She would have lifted her pistol up. He would have seen that, visually seen that. He stands up, runs behind. As soon as they're level, she gets down and starts splatting. He forgot to do that. So before he looked round, he literally stood up. She fired, and you know, me and Kev were looking at it, parted his hair. We never saw that, but it was close, really, really close. And we said, right, stop. Quick, go and get a coffee. Right, happy? Get back on the range. Straight away, get back on there.
Confidence.
Get them doing it, because she was in bits. Because she actually thought she nearly killed him, but it wasn't her fault. It was the lad in front. Anyway, so that evening, me and Kev looked at the video footage and slowed it down. It parted his hair. This 9mm straight through, you know, the back of his head. You could see the hair parting, like, you know. Thought, this is too good. This is too good an opportunity. Not to, so we got all the course. So we got the surveillance teams in. We got the guys who were doing close target recce, you know, breaking into houses legally. Got them all in, sat them down, said, listen guys, lesson to be learnt here. So when you make a mess up on the surveillance, slap on the wrist. If you mess up on CTR, slap on the wrist. You up on that range, you're going to kill someone. Simple as that, like, you know. So, and because we ran a quite a laid back sort of cell, me and Kev were pretty chilled out really. As soon as you step on the range, that's when it becomes real, because everything is done really, you know, right up to, everything we do was right up to the limit that you can push. Because it has to be, because people are coming from there straight to Northern Ireland into a war zone basically in Belfast. So your training has to reflect that. So we showed it, and the gasp from when they saw this slowed down, this bullet cutting this guy's hair basically, going through, and it was a good learning curve. Good.
So your professional opinion, right? And I think it was this week in the papers. Do you see it? Where the SF lads, and he got shot 7 times in the...
Oh, in Kevin House.
Yeah, he got shot 7 times. Knows how it got leaked to the media, but I know what the media is like, as in my situation.
Yeah.
At what stage would that have been? He's not checking his angles, he's just got shot. What would your opinion on that?
I read into it that there's a guy who'd actually put live rounds in with whatever, like, you know.
Because you have red and blue mags,
yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just put the wrong mag on, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But we've had, you know, I kid you not, we've had quite a few injuries in training, but to be honest, that's part and parcel of the job you're doing.
You're full on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you know, we've had
fingers around.
Yeah,
you know.
We've had fingers shot off. We've had people slipping off fast ropes because you're doing it all the time. And when you're fast roping, when you get tired and because you're wearing all your kit, sometimes your hands just give way, and we've had shattered legs. Yeah, we have our fair share of serious injuries. You know, we've had people killed climbing. D Squad had lost 2 people in a road traffic accident. So yeah, we have our fair share of non-operational injuries. But unfortunately, that's part of the job. Yeah.
USF.
Yeah, absolutely,
You know
and because all your training has to be on that limit.
Yeah.
Because you don't, what you don't want to do is, you know, be a bit too careful, knowing that guy tomorrow is in a war zone. So the training's got to reflect that.
When you said you want to go sneaky beaky, explosive entries and stuff like that, I know that the SF community has helped, especially the Manchester police, with teaching them explosive entries on going in their CQB teams. And I heard a friend of mine that Hereford got quite snotty because the police f***ed them off because they got taught such a high standard that he goes, we don't need you now, Hereford. We start doing in-house training, and Hereford lads used to go out with them to do explosive entries and stuff like that with shape charges.
Yeah. So every time you do the anti-terrorist team, you spend a week in London basically going around, and you sit there with a commissioner, and you get a brief off the. And he actually said to us, listen guys, the chances of us using you again are pretty slim. So, you know, it's not, because the police have, they've been quite well trained, but they're policemen. And that's the fine line. They're policemen. Now, I don't know if you can remember, but when Hungerford was going on, the sniper was a police sniper.
Michael Ryan.
Yeah. The policeman in the helicopter, sniper, policeman mentality. So at the time, Michael Ryan, and I hate bringing this up because the poor lad committed suicide. Couldn't live with himself.
The copper in the helicopter.
Yeah, in the helicopter. Because what happened was Michael Ryan was laid with his back to a tyre, and he was loading his weapon up, and the sniper had him in his sights, didn't fire. Why? Because he thought that at the time he wasn't a risk, so he didn't shoot him. Now, any military guy would have put 20 rounds in him, if that makes sense. And that's the difference between when you're dealing with hardcore terrorists, having that military mentality where you don't think about it. Remember earlier on, overthinking it?
Yeah.
I can just do it.
Mick, but you say that, mate. You know, I've been in Afghan where lads are too scared to shoot back.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being in a heavy contact, and my lads were firing because I gave them that confidence to put suppressing fire down.
Yeah.
And I ran down the line because I was with another unit, another regiment, and I was going, "Why aren't you shooting?"
Yeah.
And their corporal turned around to me and he said, "Because we're getting trouble." Why are you going to get in trouble? Because they're too worried about killing someone and getting the aftermath. Because we're too worried about hearts and minds to put suppress it. I made they're fine. Listen to that.
Yeah.
You know.
And even worse now, because they know that the government are now hammering, special forces guys are getting hammered.
Yeah.
For this, that and the other. People just don't understand. If you've never been there, never been in that position, you can't really make a comment, and you certainly can't make a decision that's going to affect somebody's life if you're just trying to apply the law as it is now in England to Afghanistan.
You can't.
Totally different.
You can't.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's like I always say as well, you can't predict the ground unless you're on it.
Yeah.
So if somebody in an ops room going, go there, go there, go there, until you're on the ground, especially as a sniper team, and picking the undulating grounds, and you're going, well, what you said in the ops room does not match what I'm looking at now.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, that's the way the world's going at the moment with this government, I suppose, and actually previous governments are just as bad, throwing people under. So, you know, the sad thing is you've got Soldier F at the moment going through the trial in Belfast. People, unless you were actually there, and I wasn't, 1972, but when you see the aftermath, the floor, when you look at the pictures on the floor and the amount of rocks and bottles, that was no peaceful. And then all of a sudden the IRA, including McGuinness, who fired first, and we've got an IRA guy that said, yeah, I fired a full magazine at the Paras. All that testimony is now disappeared. Is not being brought to the fore.
Shocking.
And bear in mind that the army unit that was there initially, because the Paras were in standby mode, had lost control because it was that violent. And it was only then that they said, right, we need help here. And the Paras go in there. Unfortunately, you know, 13 people got shot dead. But unless you were actually there getting these rounds, you know, fired at you, you know, people are going to open up, like, you know.
Who was it? Lee Keg? On the checkpoint.
Yeah, in West Belfast.
Yeah, the car went through the checkpoint.
Yeah.
His SOPs were to stop vehicles. That car went straight through that checkpoint.
Yeah.
What's your SOPs? Open fire.
Yeah.
He done that. Now.
Yeah. In fact, three of the guys fired on the vehicle, and it was apparently they sussed out that it was his bullet.
That's your bullet.
Yeah.
Oh, is it
you know
now?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they always look for a scapegoat.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's I suppose when we were doing Northern Ireland at that time, because of what happened with them two lads, that never came into play for us, and it gives you confidence knowing, and this is where your personal skills and your confidence come to the fore. Because when you're dealing with bad people and you're in the same room as them, and having that confidence to pull that off, knowing that I've got the big boy to get me out of trouble here, like, you know. I remember bumping into, we were walking past the IRA were putting a mortar together in a back garden in the Ardoyne, and they needed to find out exactly what garden it was. So I did the walk past, clocked it, number 27, and literally about 50 metres further on, the military, who shouldn't have been in the area, but you know what it's like. If you tell the military out of bounds,
they're going to go there.
They're going to go in there. Anyway, this unit came in, and bear in mind, I've got quite long hair. I look dodgy in the first place, you know what I mean? And but I've got a pistol on me. So the military are coming down one way, and it was a young lad. It must have been about 18, 19, something like that. And anyway, threw me against a wall, and I managed to get my driving licence out. And in your driving licence, there's a little note that says, listen, undercover, I'm carrying a pistol, treat me like you would any normal person. And he read it, Continued to give me a bit of a hard time, if that makes sense. Obviously patted me down and obviously felt the weapon and the spare magazines, shed load of spare mags in your pocket. Give me a bit of a hard time, and then continued on the way. My concern was the IRA that were, you know, if they'd have sort of got out and seen what was happening, could have blown the whole operation. Didn't. So 2 days later, I was in Girdwood Barracks getting ready for another operation. Civvies, you know, long hair, blah, blah, blah. And this guy came over, a young lad, and he went, "Flipping hell, mate. He says, you're brave." I went, "Not really, mate." I said, "They haven't got a clue who I am. They know who you are."
Yeah, yeah,
So, you know, it's you. And it just gave him a bit of a pick-me-up, you know, because they're doing the same thing day in and day out. And actually, quite brave people, you know, putting a uniform on, walking in them bad estates, day in and day out like that. Not really given the same intelligence as we've been given, because all the good intelligence goes to the regiment, the det, all the crap stuff gets spittled down to the Green Army.
Yeah. When I went to Belfast at the beginning of this year, he took me to the mountains where the IRA used to execute.
Yeah.
And he goes, also, on a happier note, this is where the Game of Thrones was filmed. I'm like, ah, hell. You know what I mean? In the 80s they were getting whacked, and now they're filming Game of Thrones up there.
Yeah,
bizarre.
You know? I'll tell you what, I was in Belfast about a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago now, I suppose.
Memories?
Yeah, doing surveillance awareness for, and it was Royal Engineers who were on a CP course, so a civil CP course being run by a lad out of London. And he said, "Mick, can you come over and just run the 2-day surveillance awareness run?" And I went, "Yeah, perfect." So I got there and I just thought, fantastic opportunity now. Let's go and use the bad areas. So I got 2 engineers who were not on the course, but they were from Northern Ireland. So in the morning, it was a mobile thing so that the guys could follow it and understand what it means to do surveillance. And I said, "Listen, what we're going to do, we're going to drive to Ballymurphy." And they were like that. What? Even now, squatters, military people are not allowed into places like the Ballymurphy.
Okay.
So I said, "Listen, nobody knows this, you know, until they watch this." So I said, "Listen, we're going to go in the Ballymurphy, knowing that 2 vehicles are going to come in and follow me. So let's put them under a bit of pressure here." And we always emphasise that whatever you do in surveillance, have a reason for being there. So right in the middle of the Ballymurphy is a premier shop, and I thought, perfect. Let's all get out here. 3 of us got out. Let's go in the shop and just about in the shop for about 20 minutes, because then that'll give the people who have come in a reason to park up and then do something. Because if you just sit in the car, especially some of the cars, because there were 3 up, some of the cars, and you just sit there and do nothing, you're going to get pinged straight away, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because we were emphasising, anyway, one of the guys, unbeknown to me, brought his girlfriend with him and got out and actually walked in the shop, you know, man. And because, you know, I knew him, obviously, but if I didn't know him, I wouldn't have taken a second glance, you know, because bloke with a woman, reasonable bit, they're shopping, you know what I mean? No big issue. So for me, that was hey, big part of the well, mate. And as I came out, another guy had decided to bring his dog. and I could just see him in the corner of my eye, he was sort of crossing the road, obviously clocked me. I clocked him only because I knew him, because on the course, but walking his dog, reason for being there. It was perfect, like, you know.
Yeah.
So they actually took on board of what we were doing. And then in the afternoon, now I didn't realise that these military lads were shitting themselves the day before. Because when I explained what the exercise was, they were like that, what? And the 2 lads that I was using as target were from Belfast and were asking me for directions. I'm like that, hold on, you're from, he went, "Mick, we never come over here." We never come to West Belfast. But the afternoon was a walk around the Ardoyne, and what we did was to, again, just to show them what anti-surveillance is. You know, we did 3 sides of a square, did that. And I actually bumped into an old target of mine, an old IRA guy, stood outside the Shamrock Bar in the Ardoyne in the same position as I last left him 30 odd years ago, mate. He's now twice the size of what he is now. bold as a coot, because he used to have bright red hair, bold as a coot, still drinking a pint of beer, cigarette.
So now you're going off to Bosnia?
Bosnia.
Bosnia. Now, I did 3 tours of Bosnia. We went to Banja Luka.
That's where we ended up, actually.
Was it Banja
Yeah.
Luka? Yeah, and something went wrong, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, because I'd just come back from Northern Ireland, so chopped all your hair off. All the lads had deployed, so Billy had been on a 6-week Serbo-Croat course to learn a bit of the language. And bear in mind, you're not going to get fluent in 6 weeks. Other lads had done little courses, so I was playing catch-up. So I got out there about 3 weeks after the rest of them. So one of our tasks when we got there was to set up a meeting between 2 generals, and it was for the changeover from United Nations to NATO. And then they needed to find out troop movement. So it was General Didakovic from 5 Corps, who was quite a hardy old general. Used to laugh every time we walked in the room, because we were trying to be covert, and he would say, "Ha ha ha, SAS." But we were Joint Commission Observer. JCOs was our sort of, cover story, I suppose. But most people knew who we were. Purely because we didn't look, we didn't act, like UN at all. We just did our own thing. Quite ballsy, some of the stuff that we used to do. So being shot at was minimum you were expecting. Because some of the stuff that you had to do, you just get on and do it, So me and Billy went down and did the recce the day before, a place called Sansky Mosque, or just north of Sansky Mosque, and did the recce. And at the end of the recce, we decided to have a chat with the front lines. So had a chat with the Serbs, happy with that. Had a Slivovic coffee. We then went over to the Muslim front line. Same again with them. Had a quick chat. Told them that we're going to be about tomorrow. We'll come in. Next day, set the meeting up. So we got there with the UN people who were Danish, the Danish sort of contingent, who were actually going to be conducting the meeting. We just had to set it all up. So 2 lads were going to stay there. Me and Billy decided to do a bit of a walkabout. Banged on the side of the Warrior vehicle with the light infantry. Said, listen guys, we're just going to have a quick chat with the Serbs. And this is where I class myself as being very good at situational awareness. Just come back from Northern Ireland, where you need to be spot on. But the thing we forgot was they brought the general up. And when you bring a high-ranking official to a front line, their frontline troops are going to change, and we forgot that. So as we were walking down to their frontline troops, they looked strangely different to the day before, and they brought their special forces unit up, mostly. So when we got there, because we didn't look like UN, all we had was pistols, no berry, no insignia, nothing. We carried ID cards, we had maps, and we had notebooks, nothing else. Everything sterile. Got down there, we were surrounded straight away by about 89 Serbs. They were carrying the AK variant, the whatever weapon that they use, similar to an AK, I suppose. Surrounded us. Obviously, we're not going to shoot your way out of this with 2 pistols. So we just took it as read that we were now captured. They put us into a small hut, small building. Quick interrogation, took our pistols off us, took our spare magazines, took the notebooks there, quick chat. They then decided that we had to be driven to Prijedor, which was south of Banja Luka, a place called Prijedor. Now in Prijedor there was a military site there which was renowned for killing Muslims and making Muslims disappear. It was an interrogation centre, concentration place. Anyway, so that's where they took us. So it was a 45-minute drive up there. Now me and Billy, back of the car, so you got a Serb major who was going to be the interrogator, and then you had a big burly lad here with a big beard on with his AK bearing across his knees. Me and Billy in the back. Me and Billy whispering to each other. this guy said something to this guy. He then sat up, turned round, pointed his weapon at us, and then cocked his weapon. And me and Billy sort of looked at each other and burst out laughing. And the reason being is automatically you assume if you're on the front line, your round's in the chamber already.
Yeah.
You don't expect someone. So him cocking his weapon, because we thought, hold on, we could have jumped you. You know, and thought that was really unprofessional, like, you know. So you know, laugh. It was a sort of like a nervous type laugh, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which absolutely f***ed that guy off completely. So he turned back round and we continued driving. 45 minutes later, got to Priador. Bearing in mind that me and Billy are seeing all the troop movement, vehicles and everything else. So we were getting more than what they're going to get out of us. Got dragged into this quite a large building. Point in a corridor, I get dragged in first for interrogation. Now my cover story was, I've only been here 3 weeks, which I have done. I've only been here 3 weeks. I'm just a driver. I know nothing. That was going to be my cover story. So for an hour, they were trying to get more, and that's all I came up with, nothing else. And there was nothing on me to say anything different. So they threw me out, and then Billy got dragged in. Now, unfortunately for Billy, he tried to speak a bit Serbo-Croat. They put 2 and 2 together and thought, the idiot outside who's the driver is a waste of space, leave him out there. Unfortunately, they left me in the hands of the guy that was pissed off with us. Yeah. So he had a bayonet with his weapon. So intimidation. Now you expect that. When you're captured, you expect some sort of interrogation, and you also expect a bit of a kicking. So getting kicked in the shins and you know, threatened with a dagger being sort of forced in your ribs or whatever is the least amount of things you're going to expect, like, you know. So it wasn't a big drama, to be honest. And I, at no stage did I feel that my life was at risk here, because why would they kill 2 people that they've just come across? So keeping the positive side of it, we're going to be okay. But he went in, started to speak Serbo-Croat, 2 and 2 together. So an hour later, pulls out. We were about 10 feet apart, sat down. I'm then expecting to be dragged in. Billy, dragged in again. Half an hour out. This went on about 5 times. Poor old Billy. You know, I'm just at the mercy of this lunatic that's pissed off, if that makes sense. Anyway, finally, Billy came out, and they actually put us fairly close together. And Billy leant across and went, "Hell, mate, what did you tell them?" "Sorry, mate, I just told him I'm the driver." "Yeah, but I'm the driver." Billy was the driver. So it was, you know, classic, typical military humour, I suppose. Snooze, you lose, mate. So anyway, by this time, how long was this? So this has been going on about 5-6 hours. In the meantime, the light infantry guys had informed our other 2 lads that we never came back. So they got the sat phone, rang the general, General Smith, I think, who just said, "Listen, not a drama, just go and arrest the Serb general, put him under arrest, and tell him that if we don't get our 2 lads back, he's going to be heading to B-Hatch." Yeah. And he absolutely shit pants, apparently. So he got on the sat phone. That got us released, basically. So we ended up back where we were. They give us all our weapons, our maps back that were clear and everything else. Me and Billy walking back, and Billy said to me, "Do you think we'll be in trouble for this?" I went, "Not really." And bear in mind, about 3 days before, I'd just been told that I'd been given the QCB from Ireland. I said, "They're hardly likely to throw me out, you know, giving you that 1 minute," and then. So we treated it as if it was just a normal day. Didn't make any drama out of it at all. So the only people that knew that we'd been captured were the OC of the squadron, Sergeant Major, maybe one other person, the general down in, and the 2 other patrol, and that was it. No one else. No one else knew about it. Next day, continue as normal. And then when 3 years later, when it became NATO, the Serbs gave us an LO and we were going to be going up to Banja Luka, or Prijedor first, and then heading up to Banja Luka. So we stopped in this lay-by. Me and Billy jumped out. Who's the LO? The guy that was interrogating us. Yeah, I tell you what, he absolutely shit his pants and jumped in the vehicle, never saw him again.
Really?
He was gone, yeah. He must have thought, what's this? And so, yeah, it all finished. And quite bizarrely, nobody knew, so even the rest of the squadron, no one knew what had happened. And it was only when Billy was on Who Dares Wins, he mentioned the fact that when that he'd been captured. And he was getting phone calls from B Squadron lads. Hold on, Billy, you've never been captured, that's a bit of bullshit. And he went, actually, yeah, we have, like, you know. Now, I recited the story to my kids, my 3 boys, and he went, Dad, that is a bit of an issue, actually. But old school.
Just get on with it.
Yeah, just get on with it.
When people get caught by Al-Qaeda and stuff like that, and bless them, you know, they get killed, they get their head cut off. Everyone goes, they look so calm when it happens. They get drilled, all right? They get that person, they get sent out, they get a mock execution, bung back in. And they will keep doing that constantly. So when that day comes, when it's going to happen, they get called out and they think it's going to be a mock execution, and it happens. And that's how they do it, you know, and it's just fucking horrible way. But like you said, old school's the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think your level way of thinking will save the day as well, you know, because the way you think about stuff. But saying you're laughing, mate, I've been in contacts and I've just been laying there and I chuckle.
You do, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know why it happens. It's that adrenaline rushing giggle.
Even worse, when somebody gets hurt and you're like,
yeah,
glad it was him. It's little things like that that actually get you through bad times.
Yeah.
You know, same as in the Falklands, you know, when you're getting mortared on the start line, you know, you're like that, and you can't move, just get your head down. You know, you don't know if when your next sleep is, so, you know, yes, you're getting mortared and some people are getting hurt, but, you know, if your name's on it, your name's on it. So don't worry about it, just get your head down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you miss it? Do you miss it?
Yeah, I miss the buzz. I'm at that age now.
Is that why you do what you do now?
The reason I do what I do now is because we're good at what we do. We know how to survive because we're in an environment that doesn't promote, you know, keeping people safe. So teaching people how to survive on the street to understand situational awareness. If we can keep kids safe by explaining what we went through and working against bad people, then everything's worthwhile, like, you know. And next week we're going down to look after a lady who feels threatened. So we're going to do a security assessment of a house, give her a bit of training, you know, and then put a bit of surveillance because she thinks she's being followed. So we'll do a bit of counter surveillance discreetly, just to find out. But all that's born about is because the police are not willing to help. And unfortunately, we're in an environment where the police are not going to be there. So we do a lot of farm stuff as well. Where we help farmers is directly. So if a farmer loses his tractor, we'll make sure that your tractor doesn't go missing again. Unfortunately, police don't do that either. Same as the insurance companies. They'll replace your tractor, but they'll put your premiums up, but they won't actually stop that tractor being stolen 3 months down the line. And we go back to the old way of doing it. Confrontation, for instance. For a farmer, a farmer has 2 items that he can grab that can escalate and then de-escalate a situation straight away. People are on your land, you walk over carrying your shotgun. Believe you me, people don't like looking at people carrying a shotgun. So that's one way of escalating something to de-escalate a situation. Police won't do that, they'll refuse to get involved. Farmers need to know what to use. If you don't want people coming on this track, just get bits of rubber, 6-inch nails in it, stick it on the track, make sure everyone else knows where it is, cover it up. People will come in but they ain't going to be driving back out again. Same as hair coursing. If you've got a set of kahunas and a decent 4x4 and you're happy to confront these, and it's normally traveller groups, what you need to do is just drive in a circle around where the hair coursing, because it totally f***s up the dog and everything else, but it's dealt with, you know, because they can't careful. But you just need a bit of kahunas to do it. So that's where we come in. You know, we offer practical advice on how to deal with the bad people, because the police don't do that. Physical penetration testing is one of our big things. No matter what the site is, you know, it could be a higher risk. You might have armed guards in there. We'll break in. You know,
And how can people get hold if they're interested?
Hawkes and Co. www.hawkes, HAWKESAND and co.uk.
So guys, anyone's interested, just reach out to reach out and have a look.
Veterans, yourself, you know, people like me, I've got so much to give to society in this day and age, where we're in a society that is not nice at the moment. If we can keep people safe, then that's got to be a bonus.
Oh, massively.
So, and businesses, we do a lot of physical penetration testing. We can either do the hard skills of breaking in, but when you get the likes of an RAF base, Bryce Norton getting broken into by the pink people
and spray the planes,
that tells the Russians, it tells bad people how easy it is to get in there. So
you think it's only a bloody, was it a 10-foot fence?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But we, you know, military bases in our day were, you had weapons, you know, and if you were caught on there, there's a good chance you're going to get shot. Because at the time, in my day, you had places like Turnhill up near Shrewsbury that was bombed by the IRA. So that put you on high alert. So when you were on duty, you took it really seriously. Can you remember General Milosevic from the Bosnian days?
We chased him across Kosovo.
Right.
Yeah, he had a white Mercedes.
So I was looking after a BBC reporter, babysitting a BBC reporter in Belgrade at the time. And I got a phone call from Hereford saying, Mick, while you're there, can you do a little target pack on his compound, because there was 50 million ransom on his head. So it took me 3 days, broke into his compound. He had 12 bodyguards, armed guys, got the layout a bit, put it all on a disc, at the time, floppy disk, got that sent back to Hereford. 3 days later, they handed him over. Talk about snooze you lose, but they handed him over. So
who gets that money?
I reckon, so because the Serbian government handed him to the UN, I'm pretty sure the UN would have given them the and that's why they did it, like, you know, because 50 million. So my solution to it was to bribe the guards and say, listen guys, he's going to be handed over anyway, here's 5 million, there you go. And they'd have handed him over, rather than getting in a firefight with 12 in the middle of Belgrade. So we're used to, and bear in mind that we used to break into terrorist people's houses over in Northern Ireland, so covertly. So we know how to get into places quite.
So your Northern Ireland sort of stuff really came into play in Bosnia.
Well, it's the same as.
Sorry, I've got a burning question here. Are you able to say how you break into these places?
So I can. To an extent. So basically what you do, if it's in the city centre, Belfast, you then put the occupants under surveillance. So when they leave the house, a team will follow the individuals. You will then go in there, pick locks and covert means of entry. Pick locks because you've got to make it look, it's too easy to break a window. But if you break in, that tells them that someone's been in your house, and that's not, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to ascertain if there's any weapons or explosives in that building to put the building under surveillance and stuff like that. So everything's done covertly. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 days because lockpicking is not as easy as what people make out. You know, on TV, they're in. You know, in reality, it doesn't work. You know, one, you've got to do a recce on you've got to go and see what lock it is and make sure you take the right kit with you. So yeah, it can sometimes take up to a week to, you know, because you need to find out on a farm, for instance, you need to find out where all the, if there's alarms, where the lights are, because as soon as you set a light off, it attracts attention. So you need to go in there and just probe, really, to find out. And if you've got dogs, dogs are not a major issue because you just drug them. Just give them a bit of meat with some sleeping pill, and they just get their head down, basically. So, you know, anything they throw against is doable, and that's why no site really is 100% secure. There are ways around it. It's just finding it, and that's what the physical penetration testing does.
Yeah, yeah.
So all these military sites and strategic sites or whatever should also have people like me just testing it, because security is done from the inside looking out. That's why they do it. We do it the criminal way, looking in, and it's not done to degrade the security people, because they do a hard job. It's just to remind them that, you know, there's a bit of a gap over there. You need to maybe try and shut it, like, you know. So nothing's done to take the mickey, because we're all on the same side. But unfortunately, some of these sites now, Bryce Norton, for instance, wide open. I know that, you know that, Russians know that. All the bad people know that military sites are easy targets, simply because the MOD missed a trick. After Bryce Norton, they should have made a statement that if you try that again, we're going to tell people that you're going to be shot dead. Yeah. But they didn't. You know, they were too fluffy about it.
And I think back then as well, a 10-foot fence was enough. Not this generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not enough.
Absolutely. And also now, because we, you know, I'm you know, in my day, the SAS guys used to patrol the campsite with live rounds. The MOD police were, you know, they're the ones doing the, you know, the gate letting people in, but you always had a guard on there with weapons, and anything happened, you know, the boys would be there, like, you know.
Do you know what, though? I always laugh, because I've done guard duty, you've done guard duty. It's the same fucking rounds that bounce around that guard room, and they never get changed. No. And they've gone like a really, the brass has gone like a really dull, with green on it sometimes. Yep. So even if they broke into a military camp, it's 50-50 that you're going to get a percussion cap strike, or that round's just going to go at the end of it, you know, because they just use the same fucking rounds all the time. Yeah.
And the magazines are all shot to...
Oh, dropped, battered, everything.
Yeah.
So you've left, you've got your company up and going. I did a video, was it yesterday, Josh? The video? Yeah. Or the day before? A couple of days ago. About the Charlie Kirk shooting. All right. Now, God bless his family and his kids and stuff like that. Now, I got hammered, okay, because I did it as the shooter was on the rooftop shooting downwards, and I talked about the calibration of the bullet, the way it drops, because you're shooting at an angle. If you're shooting up, you'll go shorter. If you're shooting down, it'll go lower. Now, I've got, it was like 75 positive, 25% really, what does he know, He got shot from behind, he got shot from there. What would you have done different? And I said my opinion, how I would have done it as a sniper, looking outwards, protecting him. Yeah. What's your uptake on that?
Yeah, my uptake was...
Your professional opinion.
Right, so unfortunately, and I like the guy, if that makes sense, and I like what he's trying to do, which is actually get two sides together, to talk, which is, you know, okay, is very Christian and everything else, that, you know, not everyone's cup of tea. So unfortunately, when you're that way orientated, you pick up enemies, if that makes sense. But nothing that his security team, you can't legislate for a sniper at all. No, no way. And unfortunately, because it was only 200 feet,
140 yards.
Which is and with a half decent weapon, with a half decent scope, and you're a bit of a hunter, you know, it's not exactly a really hard shot.
But they were saying he got shot from behind. That was the exit wound. You saw blood spatter, but it was his earpiece. I saw his T-shirt flutter. You know, so my opinion was he got shot from the front. That's the information I got given, but looking at it more closely, probably from behind. But we'll never know.
No.
We'll never know.
You know, I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot, and the first thing that comes up is all the security experts that, and what they're doing, they're having a dig at his security team, and you're like, hold on, you know, you can't legislate no matter how good you think you are. It's the same as Reagan when he got shot. You know, if a lunatic wants to take you on, he'll take you on, regardless of what security you've got. And you're just trying to minimise that, if that makes sense. But you know, a guy who's a sniper, there's not a lot you can do about that. And unfortunately for Charlie, and like I say, I like the guy. When you're quite extreme in your comments and stuff, you are going to attract the lunatics.
Do you remember Downing Street? They found that pipe bomb in that transit van. It landed Downing Street in the gardens when Maggie Thatcher was around. You know, it's like you said, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
Absolutely. You know, and they set the bomb off in Brighton. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the hotel.
And that had been a hotel, and that bomb had been in there for quite a while, and stuff like that. If a professional team, I always refer back, sometimes you've got to tip your hat off to an attack, even though it is complete scumbags that did it. Now, Warren Point in Northern Ireland. So Warren Point, unfortunately, the IRA sussed out, because the parachute regiment were based at Fort Hill. They used to send their patrols, and they used to drive past a place called Narrow Water, which is just outside Newry. So quite a big town in the South MI area. And what happened was, they knew, because there was a river there, and on that side of the river is the Republic of Ireland. This side is Northern Ireland. They knew that any attack, the paras couldn't get in, well, they could engage, because the paras did engage, but they can't follow up. So there's a good chance that you're going to get away with it. And when you think that they killed 8 people initially, I think it was, on the first bomb, which was put in a haystack on the back of a vehicle that hit the rear 4-tonner, took out 6 or 8 paratroopers. But then they had the foresight to put the second bomb where they thought, quite rightly, where the paras were going to put their emergency response area. So a helicopter came in, Gazelle came in with the Lieutenant Colonel from, I think, the Queen's Own Highlanders. Senior people here, officers now, are all gathered. Bomb goes off. Could have loaded more people, like, you know. Sometimes you've got to think, actually, that was a pretty good attack, like, you know. Bunch of bastards were doing it.
They do it in Afghan, you know. They knew our SOPs is when we get shot at or in a contact situation, that we dive in a ditch or go for cover. So they were putting pressure plates in the bottom of ditches, filling it with water so you couldn't see it, and then people are diving in ditches. You know, jobs are good.
Absolutely. You know, it's unfortunately, it's just the people. You know, someone always asks me, SES going after the IRA. The SES never went after the IRA per se. They went after bad people. So if you were a bad person with a gun, you were going to be taken on. Unfortunately for the IRA, there was a lot of touts in their organisation, so they're not as good as what they think they are. A lot of people were accepting money from the police, special branch, MI5 touts, to give away their own countrymen, like, you know. And nearly all the operations that the SAS conducted on the IRA were because of intelligence received, like, you know. And that tells you a story about the IRA, that you know, a lot of people wanted to give them up, their own people wanted to give them up, like, you know. Now, very rarely did that happen with the Protestants. I don't think the SAS ever had a major incident against the Protestant community. Why? Because they very rarely had touts in their organisation, and also they weren't as active. And unfortunately, the IRA were active. But in, you know, when you think in their own backyard, only 2 SAS guys have ever been killed in Northern Ireland,
Okay.
compared to how many IRA people have been killed by the SAS, and this is in their own backyard. So IRA, not as good as you think you are.
Mick, it's been absolutely, I will say, fantastic speaking to you, mate.
No, pleasure.
I could talk for
Yeah,
a long
absolutely.
time, and just memories and everything like that, and it's been absolutely brilliant having you on my first podcast, and it's been an
Yeah,
honour,
no,
mate.
it's my.
And,
actually, I feel honoured.
yeah,
actually,
and
being the first one.
do you know what? I would have you down again just to talk more.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I'd
No,
like to shake your
no,
hand,
thanks,
mate.
mate. Yeah, no,
and,
it's,
you know, thank you so much.
No, absolutely. No, my pleasure. And it was nice to drive down this morning.
Yeah.
You know, traffic wasn't too bad, and it's just great to see what you're doing here.
Yeah, yeah.
And how many people will benefit from
Oh.
coming through here, mate.
Massively.
Bit of a flashback to the jungle, actually. What's going on? We're going to have a nervous breakdown tonight.
No, thank you so much,
No,
mate.
pleasure,
Thank
mate.
you. Thank
Absolute
you.
pleasure.
Has anyone haven't subscribed yet? Subscribe, ring that bell. Okay, it costs you absolutely nothing, guys, to do so. It just unlocks more stuff for me. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next podcast.